For some of the most pivotal years of my life, tears were tucked back and hidden behind a masquerade of being tough, being a warrior, someone who could hustle, work hard, and get things done. But it wasn't until I started to get more in tune with who I really am that things took off in my business. Welcome to I Might Cry, a podcast exploring how heart, mind, body, and spirit are all deeply woven into the way we do business. With guest interviews from experts in business strategy, therapy, emotional intelligence, the human body, and so much more. I'm your host, Elizabeth Marks of Almond Leaf Studios. I've been capturing luxury weddings around the globe for decades and now have the privilege of educating others on how to build and grow profitable business doing what they love. I'm on a journey of self-discovery, of becoming more of the uniquely beautiful, messy, and complex human that I was created to be, and I want to invite you to do the same. Join me on this adventure of uncovering the walls we've built that keep us stuck in patterns of limitation so that we can journey into living life with arms and hearts wide open. Let's venture into this together. Come along with me on an audible journey today. You've just landed on the airplane and you find the train station. You're in Italy. You've landed there and you're so excited. Your body is like buzzing from excitement and equally filled with exhaustion, having flown overnight. You find the train, you get on after a cappuccino. You ride the train an hour or so north. You get off the train. You're met by one of the kindest humans. You can tell just by his eyes alone that his eyes are just radiating light and kindness and love. And while you don't share a lot of the same language, there's this knowing, there's this understanding. This person is just filled with goodness. He welcomes you, smiling ear to ear, just radiating joy, puts your baggage into the back, and drives you up these winding, beautiful roads of the Italian countryside. You arrive, and when you get there, you're greeted by two incredible humans. They welcome you. They open the gates. You walk up this stone path that's wide enough just for each wheel of a car, with grass and moss growing in between, and the fog begins to come in. And as you look out behind you, you realize you can see down through the valley and up through the next hill, this city that is raised up on a hill, just twinkling and glowing beneath the Italian sky at night, mimicking, mirroring the stars twinkling and shining brightly above. He walks you up through the house, showing you what feels like an actual movie scene. You see this beautiful, beautiful home, this property. Even the walls have this warmth to it, this ancient wisdom in them. You know these walls have seen and known and experienced far more than your entire nation ever has. Far more than your grandparents or their grandparents. You wind up around behind the back of it, and you're introduced into this tiny little narrow doorway where you walk in and you see your room. It's perfection. It is high roofs and lots of light bouncing around, even though the sun is getting ready to set. And you find your safe space. You can feel the coziness, the warmth of this place. You drop your belongings. You're asked if you would love a wine tasting. Of course, you agree. Like, why wouldn't you? And then he asks, would you guys like to taste some of the fresh oil from their olive groves? And the answer, of course, is yes, happily. So they tell you they'll prepare it in 30 minutes. You wander around the property, just taking in the scene, noticing that your body feels so different, noticing that you feel lighter, freer, Noticing that even in the physical tiredness, something is different. You spend some time wandering and you come across their gardens, so noticing that they grow their own vegetables and herbs. And then as you are greeted back in, when the time comes to sit down for the wine tasting, you begin to learn a little bit more about these two people that run this property. You learn that they met at a Michelin star restaurant in Rome. That's where they fell in love, that they are a couple, and that the love they share is what led them to this property. You learn that there's a 5-course dinner prepared waiting ahead for you, and that she's going to get to work in the kitchen, working with her hands from food from the garden and from fresh local farmers and gardens, creating the most incredible meal that you'll ever have. You sip wine, laughing with your friends. The music plays softly. Candles are lit. The lighting is just perfect. Not too bright, not too dim. Perfect, warm lights. Not the kind of blue, cold lights we have here at home. You feel the warmth. You feel the warmth radiating not just from the love of being in a new place and the excitement and the wine that you're sharing and the laughter with your friends and the food that's being prepared, but you feel the warmth radiating from your heart. You feel that you are filled with love, that things feel different. You just notice it and enjoy it. You soak it all in, noticing that the decor is perfect and the sound is perfect. The music they have chosen is perfect. Everything just feels right. You fall asleep that night and wake up the next day, still kind of feeling like, is this real life? Am I here? And the next night, after adventuring around the city, you end up in the hot tub with your friends, drinking far too much wine under the night sky, watching the stars and watching it. Rain comes in, begins to pour down on you, but it doesn't stop you because laughter is filling the hot tub as much as your bodies are. So you laugh and you let yourselves be soaked in the rain, and you continue just talking about life and laughing about all the things that life has brought and the experiences, let alone the one you're in right now. This is Italy. This is a dream come true for you. And that, my friends, was what my last trip to Italy was like. Now, why am I telling you all of this? There's a couple key important things that I want you to know. First of all, I am already dreaming of going back. I think before we even got home, I was dreaming of going back. And I want to invite you to consider joining me as well. We're in the very early stages, early in the process of beginning to explore what it would look like to host some kind of a workshop in Italy at this exact same spot. In fact, I'll even link it in the show notes. You can get on a wait list now if you want more access and more information. It does not mean that you're committed to going or that you're signing up for it. You're just going to be the first to know if you get on the wait list. Now, what kind of trip would I like to plan and why? What is the benefit? Not just obviously like drinking amazing wine and feeling different in your body, feeling the warmth, feeling love, feeling expanded in all of those ways. Those are very tangible benefits as well. But one of the things I've been thinking about is the benefit that happens in our consciousness when we travel. And it's no surprise that I've always been interested in travel and I've always loved travel. And maybe you have too. One thing that I realized recently in some of the studies that I was doing was that traveling actually helps you create new neural pathways. Now, if you've been with me for a little while, you've been following my work, you know that new neural pathways is a huge part of what I have been working on and how I bring some of that same subconscious work into my coaching programs. When we build new neural pathways, we allow the external reality around us to become significantly easier. It's like your brain is like running on autopilot with the subconscious. Your subconscious is in control of 95% of the actions that you take every day. So if the subconscious is locked in on these neural pathways that it's so familiar with, it's so used to, without creating new neural pathways, it's really, really challenging to change your behavior and therefore change your external reality, right? So when we create the new neural pathways, that's how we recreate the life around us to look like we want, that one that's in alignment with who we are and what we desire, what we dream of, from a place of ease and flow, without hustle, without sheer willpower, without striving, without working hard to make that happen. So if travel helps us do this and we enjoy the travel, then why wouldn't we do it more? This is one of the things that I've been thinking about. And yes, I know for a lot of us, the next question is like, well, because we can't afford it, right? We don't have the money, the finances. And we can get into that on a whole nother level because there's so many things that we could talk about the financial part of it. I'm not going to get into that right here on this podcast, but if you have questions and you want to process that with me, please send me a DM on Instagram. It's ElizabethMarks, MARX.coaching. Send me a message, send me a voice memo, tell me that you're interested, but you just can't wrap your brain around how this could be possible. And I'm happy to workshop that with you and just kind of begin the conversation of helping maybe shift your perspective a little differently and see that maybe it is possible for you and maybe not, but walking alongside you with that, not in this podcast, I think would be a supportive way because it's so individual and so unique. So I want to read this quote to you. When I heard that travel helps us feel so incredible and so alive because it's creating new neural pathways, it really clicked something into place for me. I really loved the idea of this and the concept of this. So I started doing a little research and I want to read you this quote. It says, "We know that travel opens our eyes to the minutia of life, and studies suggest that it opens up your brain as well. When we find ourselves in a new situation, our brain sends out messages as it works to understand our surroundings. These messages create new neural pathways, which connects different parts of the brain." So when you're in a new place and you're experiencing new things, new beauty, new sights, new sounds, new smells, new tastes, your taste buds are being lit up by that incredible 5-course meal, and it's paired with the most delicious wine, and you find yourself drinking almost way too much, but yet the next day you're not hungover at all because there's just something different about the wine there. It's cleaner, it feels better, your body's adjusting to it differently. When you're in a situation that's doing that, you are actually creating new neural pathways. You are conditioning your brain to believe that there's more and more and more available to you. There's another study that I was reading that was talking about 5 different fascinating things that travel does to us and to our bodies. And I'll link both of these in the show notes as well, so you can have access to them, to the full articles. But number 5 that they said was you'll get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. How many of us know that like when you get caught up in the repetition, in the patterns of just sticking with the familiar, sticking with what's comfortable, it feels easy, but it doesn't actually create the results that you want, get you what you want in your life. Rarely does it, right? If I have a painting that I would like to sell and I keep trying to put it out there in the world, whether that's on Instagram or TikTok, or maybe I have a Shopify account or Pinterest, whatever my strategy is that I'm doing, if I keep doing it and I keep doing the exact same thing, expecting different results, and it's not working for me, that's actually the definition of insanity, right? Like it's doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. If I want something different, a different result, if I want that painting to sell, I need to get a little bit uncomfortable and try a different tactic, right? Try a different strategy, try something else, figure out a new way. Maybe it's creating that Shopify account. Maybe it is starting a Pinterest account, whatever the thing might be, right? I'm not here to tell you that that's like the right way to do it. I think it's all about finding the right way that's aligned for you and using some strategy for sure. But getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is one of the ways that I witness people in my coaching programs make those kind of quantum leaps, those quantum jumps from one reality of their life that they're living into the one that they desire. I see those people have far more success because over time and time and time again, they are willing to dive in deep and get uncomfortable and recognize what's truly holding them back and do the inner work of shifting that and moving them forward. So when I started to think about Italy, I've been ruminating on this idea of like, what would it look like if we actually did plan an event there? I started to wonder things like, I've always thought about hosting a photography workshop. Would I do that in Italy? Like, Italy sure is an amazing place to have a wedding, or Italy sure would be an amazing place to come back and to be capturing weddings. And I'm sure a lot of other people who are photographers that follow me would love to do this as well. And while I'm not opposed to that, I certainly have the resources and the connections with amazing people that could pull off an incredible workshop. So you're welcome to convince me to do it that way if that's you. And you're like, no, please do that. But what I've been sitting with and thinking about is if I could dream up just the absolute ideal situation, the absolute ideal scenario of what a workshop on this property in this place might look like and feel like. What my heart is longing for is bringing together women who have a passion for growing a creative business. And yes, we would talk about business too. Yes, we will talk about some business strategy and some tactics. Yes, we can create new portfolio pieces or talk about branding situations. I've got people kind of in the works where I've talked about possibly bringing along a graphic designer, or I could do headshots for you or some brand photos for you. There's a number of different like practical things that we could do. But what my heart is truly longing for is for you to feel the kind of safety that can happen only when you're in community, for you to be witnessed in those hard moments and in the celebrations. The same kind of thing that happens in my group coaching programs where the power that happens. Oh, I don't even have words. It's just incredible. It's just beautiful to witness these like life-changing moments where all of a sudden everything becomes clear for you and you are really creating those new neural pathways of seeing things a different way than you ever used to. So there would be sessions like meeting with my energy healer, Karen, who was on the last podcast episode, having a session possibly with her, whether she's there physically or remote, I don't know yet. We don't have the details worked out. A session with her, having massage, really getting into this like flowy, more relaxed, feminine energy, this posture of being in a receiving mode, of being in this mode of like letting us take care of you. You are probably somebody that takes care of so many others and so many other things. And putting yourself into this mode of just being there to receive, to be lavished on, to be nourished, to be invited into deep, deep conversations and connections with others, to do the work of discovering who your inner child is and who that future version of you is that already has everything that you know, everything that you desire. It's already yours, that future version of you, connecting with that part of you. And then mapping out backwards and figuring out, okay, how do we get from where we are now to where we want to go? And doing it all from this place of ease and flow and abundance where you're thinking differently, like quite literally your brain is functioning at a very different level than it would be if you were just sitting at home trying to figure out these problems on your own. So if you are interested in breaking out of your comfort zone, traveling around the world, being in community, if you love the idea of having wine tastings with the most incredible wine and olive oil that's freshly harvested and tastes so good you could drink it. If you would love a 5-course meal from these incredible chefs that worked at these Michelin star restaurants, if you love the idea of being in this cozy environment and wandering the cobblestone streets of this beautiful little town where I studied art for an entire semester in college and still holds just as much charm. It's not the hustle and bustle of Rome or Florence. And yes, we can go to those places. And yes, we can visit other wineries. And yes, we can go sit in natural hot springs and all of the other things. There's so many opportunities available. But if this is calling to you and you're like, that sounds incredible, I want to know more, please go to the waitlist and get on the waitlist. I would love to see who's interested and to have conversations with you. I would love for you to reach out on Instagram too, to let me know, that sounds incredible, I'd love to go. Or I'd love to go, but, and tell me the reasons why. Because what I would love to do is invite you into conversations with me. I don't want to dream up a perfect scenario that happens beautifully in my head, but it's not exactly what you need. So I want to invite you to be a part of the process with me, to be in conversation with me, letting me know, this is where I feel stuck. This is what I'm longing for. This is what I need in my business. This is what I need in my life. It could be business related or not at all. I don't care. Who I want there is the kind of person who's willing to do the deep work, who's willing to go inward and be reflective, who's willing to be open to more joy and more expansiveness and more abundance than they've ever dreamt possible. And if that is you, please go sign up on the wait list. It's elizabeth-marks.com/retreat. You can get on the wait list, be one of the first to be notified when we do make an announcement about dates and times and all the details of it too. And find me on Instagram. Have a conversation with me. Tell me that you heard this podcast and that you're interested, that you're intrigued, you just want to know more, and you have these reservations or this kind of thing would serve you. I am open to hearing what you desire, because if we're doing this, I know 80% of it in my heart of exactly how I want it to feel, what kind of experience I want to create for you. I know the location. I know so many aspects about this, but that last 20%, I'd love to cater it towards what you need, towards what your heart is longing for, what you are desiring. Next week on the podcast, I have a podcast episode coming, so make sure you tune in with two of the people on my team, Elise and Caroline. And we talked about a retreat that I hosted here in Asheville, North Carolina, where I live with my husband and my two kids. And they came and they're going to share a little bit of their experience of what that was like for them stepping into that weekend and what their expectations were, and then how different it was going into it as it was coming out of that experience. So it'll just give you a little taste of what a weekend together would look like. Now, if we're traveling all the way to Italy, we're probably doing more than just a weekend, but nonetheless, giving you a little glimpse of what that's like. So if this is calling to you, please, please, please reach out. Let me know. I would love to have the conversation. If you're willing to get a little uncomfortable, if you're desiring some travel, some adventure, some exploration, if you love to drink good wine and eat great food and be in conversation with lots of laughter, and you dream of wandering the Italian countryside, experiencing these gorgeous wineries and wandering the cobblestone streets of a small Italian town, this is for you. And I would love to know more. Side note too, we will probably also be announcing a local version of it too. So if a lot of this is calling to you and it's really connecting to you, but you don't necessarily want to travel to a foreign country like Italy, we will be exploring also the idea of hosting one that will be open to the public here in Asheville as well. So let me know what you're interested in. If you want to see any more about the last experience that I have, if you want to relive and go back to that audible journey, but have a visual experience as well, please go find me on Instagram, elizabethmarks.coaching. I've got all kinds of footage and reels that I would just love for you to just soak up and see how magical and how amazing it actually was from a visual perspective as well as an audible one. And if you aren't sure where to go and you don't see them easily, just shoot me a message. Seriously, my DMs are open. Just send me a message and I will find it and connect it to you, or just pull some fresh ones off of my phone and relive it alongside with you. As always, I love to leave you with something tangible and practical that you can take away. even if you can't just hop on a plane tomorrow and travel around the world. So whether or not you are interested in joining the wait list, one thing that I want to challenge you to do is to find new ways this week to get a little uncomfortable, whether that means going to a new coffee shop to work or changing your environment in some way, finding ways to kind of mix up your surroundings, your comfort level, so that you begin to challenge your brain to build those new neural pathways. This could be something as simple as like buying a different scented candle. It could look like painting the walls of your room. It could look like I said, a new coffee shop somewhere else. It could look like traveling to a different city, a neighboring city, and spending a night in a hotel to just knock out some work and spend some time being alone, to interrupt those patterns that your brain is always playing out subconsciously, just on repeat. Hope that serves you well, and I'll see you next week. If you're looking for more, you can find me at elizabeth-marks.com, elizabeth-marx.com, or find me on Instagram at elizabethmarks.coaching. Remember, you are enough. You are love, you are light, and you are worthy simply because you exist.